I like cappuccino and fish fresh from the sea. Chips from the casino, I'll wager won't be free.
Game.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
what Pele said, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He called it the beautiful game.
it's a beautiful game.
And when you sort of perhaps watch Match of the Day, if people don't go to football,
Yeah,
with fresh eyes, so to speak, you actually do see, the idea that there's 22 people on that pitch, all chasing around this leather football. I assume that's still leather and not plastic, but it does seem incredible that, especially the top players, they're earning millions of pounds a year for being pretty good at kicking a football, at having a football brain, and that is an important aspect of top footballers. But it's an incredible game, which again I believe was invented by the British. It was invented by us,
yeah,
and we exported it to the world, like a number of games actually that we did, like rugby, cricket, and other games too. But yeah, football is a beautiful game. It really is.
I've always loved football. I can't.
Do you follow? Do you follow your team in Bradford? Because they do okay, don't they?
No, I don't. I follow Manchester United.
Yeah, I know you're a fan of Man U, but you're not no interest in Bradford at all?
No. I don't know. I've never actually. I mean, a lot of my friends here, they do, and some of them, rightly so, they follow Leeds United.
Right, yeah, because that's nearby, isn't it?
Yeah, so Leeds United, there's quite a lot of friends and acquaintances that, they talk about Leeds United a lot. And I think they must have been really disappointed with not
the
not
playoffs.
The playoff, yeah. So there were quite a lot of sad faces on Sunday, not looking.
I bet.
Not happy.
Well, it's got to be the worst game. It's got to be the worst game to lose. Palace came up by the playoffs in 2013 at Wembley, and I went to that game. We all went, and it was a lovely sunny day, and everything was perfect about it. And Palace won by a penalty goal in the second half, quite near the end, I think. Kevin Phillips, who used to play for us, he scored that goal. And in some ways, as people say, the best way to get promoted, if you go up via the playoffs, is via the playoffs, because although two teams go up automatically at the top, okay, you've got the suspension of having to beat another team home and away, and then you go to Wembley. But to win that, it's a magic feeling for a football fan, because suddenly you're going to be in the top league, and you're going to see your team, if you want to, on Match of the Day every week, and your team will be talked about on the TV, Sky and all that. So winning that match, and of course it's worth, I think they said the other day, it's worth to Southampton about £172 million just to get back into the Premier League. So yeah, it's a wonderful game to win. It's the world's most expensive, so to speak, football game, where the prize is the biggest.
Yeah.
But to lose it when you think you're within touching distance of the top league, which Leeds and Southampton only went down from last year.
Yeah.
So Leeds will be shattered, and their fans will be shattered. But talking about Bradford, I mean, I can't remember what year it was. It's quite a long time ago, but there was that awful fire, wasn't there, which killed, I think, 55 fans or something like that.
I didn't know about that. When was that?
Yeah. I think it was. I think it was like in the mid to late 80s.
Oh, right. No.
So it's not that long ago, but I think they had an old wooden stand.
Oh, wow.
And from what has been said and what they found out, I think a dropped cigarette, caught fire. And I don't know whether there was a time when football teams had fences, so you couldn't get onto the pitch.
Yeah.
But I think this fire went. It's a very sad thing to talk about, but then again, it's important we remember the poor people who died and what caused it. But the stand just went up like a tinderbox, and I think it was about 52 or 55 poor souls lost their lives. They went to a football match and never got home. So, yeah, and again, in a way, we have to thank that kind of situation to make sure that football grounds are much safer nowadays. But absolute tragedy that was. So I think I've always had, if I can put it that way, a bit of a soft spot for Bradford, a bit like the teams at Hillsborough. I mean, that was Liverpool, wasn't it? They played up there, and when they lost 96 fans at Hillsborough.
Oh, Hillsborough,
and,
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, that was awful as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was in 1989, I think. But yeah, so football has had its tragedies. As we said before, sadly, what can go wrong sometimes does, but that should spur people to make sure, when things do go wrong, we learn the lessons, really.
Lessons, yeah. Lessons have to be learned. According to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they always say.
Yeah, they always say that, and it doesn't seem that they are learned, does it, really?
No. No.
I was going to talk about or bring up the subject of football sticker books.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for 26 or 27 years, Panini is the company that has had the rights to do the Premier League book once in a season, the Euros and the World Cup. So they produced this nice sticker book, and football fans, particularly kids, I expect, buy the stickers and try and fill the book. I mean, it's always been a little bit of a moot point how fair it is, because traditionally the price the last few seasons for 5 stickers is about 95 pence, or £1 in some cases, and there's usually around 400 to 500 stickers to collect. But of course, if you allow for the fact you're going to get quite a few doubles, if a young fan particularly wants to fill the book, I mean, his parents, or if it's someone who is buying it themselves, they will obviously have to buy a lot more than the 500 stickers available. So it can often cost £500, £1,000 to do it. So it's a little bit of a rip-off, but that's one thing. But now there are 2 companies. Another company started up to kind of go up against Panini, called Topps a few years ago, and they have just won. They won the rights to these Euros that are coming up, which has seriously put Panini's nose out of joint, as you can imagine. And apparently, Topps was originally started, I think, 10 or 15 years ago. So they've not really had the rights to do these big competitions. It was started by 2 ex-Panini employees who didn't want to work under the ultimate leadership of Robert Maxwell. Now, he was a British politician years ago. Anyway, that's how that started. But Topps have now got the rights. But Panini have got contracts with 4 national teams: England, France, Italy and Germany. And also they have a connection with the Spanish team. So the Topps Euros sticker book can only have what they call floating heads of players from those countries. They're not allowed the kits or anything else. And equally, Panini, they're doing their own book even so. It's not the official one. Topps is the official one. They're concentrating on those 4 teams. But again, they've not got enough in the 4 teams. I mean, I don't know how many teams enter the Euros. It's probably 32. It might even be more now. So if you've got 4 or 5 teams, then what they've done, they've given every player a page to themselves, which means that on every page about, say one of the England players, Harry Kane, there's 5 stickers of Harry Kane to collect at different points of his career. So you've not just got to collect one of him or Harry Maguire or any of the other players. You've got to get 5. And so, in fact, their unofficial book, which a lot will buy because they're probably the best at it, has got 387 stickers, but of single pages for each player, or for most of the players anyway. Topps have got about 500 and something stickers, but again, they've had floating heads, so it's not fair really on people, the kids buying these things. And statisticians have said it could well cost well over £1,000, allowing for the doubles you inevitably buy for a child to actually complete those books. Because a lot of people say, yeah, I want to get all the stickers, and they do, but it's no longer a cheap option. It's worse this season than ever. So it is actually probably fair to say it's a big rip-off, like so many other things that we find. If there's a market for it, I guess you will always get a company or somebody extracting the very last blood from the stone, and it's not fair on particularly youngsters who don't really have the money, nor their parents very often, to spend out such a lot of money on football stickers. And again, when you think of what our Premier League players and top players around the world are paid, it always seems to be ripping off the fans. Even with, as you said, with season ticket prices, they are expensive. But there we are. That's the perhaps not so beautiful side of the game.
Yeah, but do you think they'll ever go digital, where you'd have to collect it digitally rather than physically?
I don't know, possibly, but I think there's always something, isn't there, about actually having the sticker in your hand and the book itself. I mean, you could have a digital book too, but maybe it's why vinyl records are so popular again, and they've been getting more and more popular every year now for quite a few years, because you can't beat the magic of having a vinyl record. I think there's something I did when I first was doing my own recordings, which was in, I don't know, probably 1993, 95, something like that. Even though then it was, I think it was after, it was the early days of CDs. Well, I think they've been around for a few years. So you get something in your hand, a CD. But I still wanted to make a vinyl record, and so I deliberately wrote at that time. I've written other songs before that, but I wrote 10 songs, I think it was, to put on this record, this album, and I called it Intricate Simplicity after one of my songs.
Yeah,
and I got it done in a vinyl record. I've got a few of them. I think originally I had about 500 copies pressed, and I had a design on the sleeve. It was a typical, what was used to be called an LP, but a typical album with 10 songs, all of which had been through Deepstuff. Intricate Simplicity was the title, and I think I've only got somewhere left about, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 of those. The other 470 are in my garage. No, they're not really. I mean, I did actually put some were put in one or two local record shops, so they did actually sell. So I didn't buy all of them by any means, but it was actually a bit of a thrill to finally see that LP, that album of my songs, written, performed by Trevor. And there was an engineer guy who taught me such a lot about engineering a record, and it was after that I bought my own Porter home studio, since when I've upgraded it a couple of times. And if I hadn't had that experience of recording in a recording studio, it was 2 or 3 weeks to do these 10 songs, 2 weeks I think, and I played all the instruments, which is how I've carried on ever since, except I have the luxury of a drum machine for the most part. So that and everything else I play. But it was brilliant experience, and it taught me how to do it. And ever since then, as I say, like you will know, as you go along, you get better at it. You learn little tricks here